My name is Louie Gong. I'm Nooksack, Squamish, Chinese, French, and Scottish, and I was raised both in Ruskin, BC, and in the Nooksack tribal community, which is in Washington State. When I started making custom shoes, I think the connection I felt to my native ancestors grew exponentially because it was something that came out naturally. And at first I thought it was something new, a new twist on Coast Salish art. But then when I was talking to this master carver who was working on a project with my uncle, he said, you know what, we've always done work on things that are utilitarian, and what you're doing is really good because it's not new, it's the perpetuation of something that is old tradition. And then I thought, oh yeah, moccasins are custom footwear. Well, in March of 2009, I went and bought a pair of Vans because I've always wanted a pair of Vans. I took a plain gray pair home, but because I didn't really connect with the style of that blank pair of shoes, I didn't wear them right away, and I sat around for a while. And a few weeks later, I just randomly grabbed those plain gray pair of Vans and put them on my chest while I was lying on the couch, reached behind me and grabbed a Sharpie and started personalizing the shoe. And when I did that, it wasn't anything that I was thinking of as a business idea or even an art project. I just wanted a shoe that represented who I was as a person. And what came out was some traditional Coast Salish art with some strong urban aesthetic. And I was pretty proud of the shoe, so I wore it to work the next day, and my coworker looked at the shoe and she goes, man, those are sick. Where'd you get those? And how can I get a pair? And that's what kicked off this whole idea of 8th generation custom. When I set out to do a custom shoe, a lot of times I'll start with a sketch that I made in a staff meeting from my day job. But other times I'll just start just by picking up the pair of shoes and looking at them really closely and sort of seeing what might come out naturally. With Vans and also Converse Chuck Taylors, a lot of times there'll be a glue spot here or there, or the composition will be a little different from shoe to shoe. And in that way, the shoe brings its own energy to the process. What does it really mean to be an artist? Although I loved art, I'd sit down to try to do a piece of art on a piece of paper, and maybe I'm fantasizing that it's going to end up as a print. And so I would sit down on that two-dimensional paper and try to draw something, and it wouldn't really come out. And so it wasn't until I actually picked up a shoe that I found my groove as an artist, because there weren't a lot of constructs or rules or expectations about what shoe art is supposed to look like. And for me, as someone who looks the way I do, carrying the last name Gong and living in a tribal community, I was constantly throwing people off. And so they'd be asking me questions like, what are you? Or how'd you get that last name Gong? And every time I got one of those questions, it was like a reminder that my experience or what I was presenting to people was somehow odd or peculiar. The biggest challenge for me was the fact that I believed and I bought into all these invisible barriers that we impose on ourselves as just being part of society. It wasn't until I started to recognize that these invisible barriers were in place and influencing my life that I was able to sort of navigate around them. And sometimes I just want to do the art. I don't want to get the pictures done and upload it to the website and do the sale and then go do the shipping. Sometimes I just want to do the art. And so finding the balance between me just working and developing the craft and then also having to follow up with the business end of things is challenging too. Well, I think the advice that I give someone who is thinking about doing anything, not just art, or maybe it's a sport, or maybe it's working with animals or whatever, it doesn't matter. You need to realize that failure is a part of success, and in order to get good at something, you have to have the courage to risk failure.